everybody? This is ChefD26, my man Irish Booze Hound.
What's up?
And today we're doing another movie review with spoilers. But remember, everybody, first half will be the review, the second half will be spoilers.
Been warned.
Yes, you have been warned about that one, guys. And today we shall be doing
Jonah Hex.
Hey,
guess what? This this has reasoning. We're going to explain this more in detail later in this review, but this has reasoning.
I'm getting a migraine.
And
I'm
this
getting a migraine.
Here is a clue. This gentleman right there. I know you do.
I want to strangle. I want to do this to you. I want to.
So, in all reality, joking aside, we are here to review Antman and the Wasp.
Yes.
The sequel to Antman, directed by Peyton Reed.
Yes. He did the past Antman, which he actually did a very fairly good job in that one, guys.
And he also directed Yes Man, which is a funny movie. I highly recommend that movie. That is very awesome. This guy's never seen it, but it stars Jim Carrey and Bradley Cooper. Very good movie. Go check that one out. It's also produced by
Kevin Feige. It was also written by at least 5 other people, but most notably Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
And I had no idea that he actually had some hand in the writing process, guys.
And you can actually kind of see it in some of the scenes because, from I Love You Man, 40-Year-Old Virgin, and Role Models, he does have a lot of funny comedy, and he brings that into this movie.
Now, as for Antman and the Wasp, the sequel, because everybody know that it's very hard to make a sequel better than the first one or just as good.
It is.
It really is hard, especially in modern nowadays, where everybody's just trying to go for that quick money grabbing cash, you know.
Exactly, and most movies hate to see that, but at the same time, everyone's trying to be successful, like Peter Jackson was. You got The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and then all of a sudden, Return of the King comes, and that movie wins 11 Oscars, goes in the top 3 of the greatest movies of all time, tied with the Titanic and Gone with the Wind. So I think everybody's trying to do that. Well, you know what? It may not be good the first time around, but wait till you get to the third one.
Yeah. All right.
Moving on.
Yes. So right now, as for the cast goes, I say it was a very excellent job at casting choicing right now. Paul Rudd returns as playing Scott Lang and as the Antman, and he does a very good job in this one.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
I did. I really surprised. It kind of picks up where the events of Civil War ended, as well as where the previous Ant-Man ended. Evangeline Lilly comes back as Hope Van Dyne. Hope Van Dyne.
Yes, and she does play the Wasp in this one, and her role in this one.
More screen time for her. Yes. More of an impact in the story in this one because it more focuses on her, her father, as well as other characters.
Yes.
We won't spoil nothing right here, but much more beautiful. Love the hairdo.
Love it. I love the hairdo.
Love
this
the
one's
costume.
better than the first one. I tell you that much right now.
And then we also get some other characters in this one. We get to see Lawrence Fishburne brought into this franchise.
Very good.
Playing Dr. Bill Foster.
Very good job.
We'll get a little bit later on his character. Not want to spoil nothing just yet. Hannah John Kamen.
She plays Ghost, who is the villain in this movie. Or semi-villain in this movie, which we'll explain more in spoilers, guys. Now, she does somewhat of a good role. She's more of like a filler.
Yeah, that's actually a good... she's a filler. As well as Walton Collins. You can see some of his movies. Goggins, sorry. He's kind of here as a filler, kind of fill in the blocks, if you will. We also see Michael Pena as Scott Lang's friend Lewis. We get T.I. as Dave, another friend of Scott Lang, as well as
Dave I'm really sorry if I mispronounce his name. I will display it for you guys. But they all make the return, and I love these guys, man. They are the funny. They're like the backbone of the comedy part right there. Especially Michael Pena, man. He does a fantastic job in this one, guys. A very fantastic job.
Exactly. And lastly, we cannot forget about one of the main characters of this movie, and that would be Dr. Hank Pym, played by Michael Douglas, who this movie is basically...
Fantastic. Good job.
This movie basically focuses on him, and he actually is the original Ant-Man, and Scott Lang is Ant-Man 2. There is actually a third Ant-Man. You guys can probably check him out.
Yeah, the comic books make it a little bit more tricky to follow, but the movie, if you just follow the movies, it'll help him out much more.
Right,
much more clear.
You know, this kind of franchise is taking place after the events of the original Ant-Man, played by Hank, or Dr. Hank Pym, I should say.
They actually get more backstory in this one.
Who his era was more the 50s and 60s, but yeah, like he was just saying, we get more of a backstory, more of an origin. And the acting in this movie, played by not only him but the other actors and actresses in this movie, was a phenomenal job.
Yes,
there were some, you know, characters I thought were, like he was saying, fillers.
There were some characters I wish they could have used more, especially for the acting. But Lawrence Fishburne, he was good when the camera was on him, but you could tell they needed to use him more in this one just to help.
Yeah, his character was kind of like off-putting, I thought. But as far as special effects and sound effects in this movie, top par.
Oh, it was great.
Marvel always delivers.
Yeah, it was really good to see him go to really small, the ant size, to really super large. And just the way that they transition, especially Ghost, where she was able to phase in and out of the walls. I mean, she cut. It almost brought up a reminiscence of like the twins in the Matrix Reloaded, how they would just go in and out of cars and buildings and everything like that. I mean, I thought that was very good special effects, especially the fight scenes between Wasp and Ghost. I thought that was very good. Yeah,
and those special effects on each of those characters. Those characters, like I keep saying, some of them had very good development. Others I felt was underdeveloped or not utilized correctly. Action was a lot better in this movie.
Much more action.
Much more action. Especially from the Wasp. We got to see more of her role now that she's got the suit. And in some scenes, you can actually see Scott Lang getting a little jealous. You know?
Yeah, like, what, you had wings? And she could fire weapons out of her hands? Like, didn't I have the technology back? Oh, yeah, I had it, but I just didn't want to add it on.
Right, and this movie had really good pace, and it did have some slow points.
It flowed very, very well.
But those slow points had a reasoning with the pace. So when you have that kind of correlation, it makes for a good movie.
Now, all the way around, I gotta say this movie was good. You know, a misuse for certain characters. They could have like developed them more better. The villains, of course, Marvel always has trouble with its villains. You know, besides Loki and Thanos were pretty much the only two good ones out of the entire Marvel universe.
Right, and that's what these since Loki, Marvel has been trying to reprise that kind of villain character, kind of like cookie cutter, if you will. Same with Iron Man. The reason why Ant-Man didn't do very good in the box office because a lot of people are saying, well, this is exactly like the original Iron Man. It's just been rebrushed, recostumed, and kind of tinkered a little bit with the story. But all in all, Marvel does need to work on the villains, like he says. We're going to go into a final rating, and hopefully this doesn't take 20 minutes for him to explain, but he wants to create a new rating system. I'm going to continue to use the old traditional. It's simpler, it's easier for me as well as you, but here he has to explain his new rating system.
Now, previously I would use a 1 out of 5 system, which I thought would be more simpler. But lately, some of our movies have been kind of almost the same thing, even though we know the movies are somewhat better or equals about. Now, here's a very... example. Now, recently we did see Avengers Infinity War. We both thought that movie was badass. Previously, we gave it like a 4 out of 5. Even though there's a few things wrong with it, yes, but 4 out of 5 would be good. Now, me and him watched The Last Jedi, and me and him gave the rating of 3 out of 5. Correct?
2 out of 5.
No, he's changing the rating. I got the video, guys. You can go back and check out his rating. He gave it 3 rays out of 5. Alright? But,
okay.
But then we saw Deadpool 2, which we know is a much better movie than The Last Jedi, and we both gave that a 3 out of 5. So I decided to add more stars. I decided to go with the system of 1 out of 10. So that would basically put, like, let's say Avengers Infinity War a 9 out of 10, and that would basically put The Last Jedi like a 4, or like at 1 10, like a 4 out of 10. It would be a below average movie, or 3 or 4. It would be below, but we'll put like Deadpool.
For the record, yes, I probably did say 3 out of 5. I now change it. I put The Last Jedi with the Phantom Menace as the worst of the franchise. Yeah.
So basically, 1 out of 10 system. That's what I'm going for right now. And as for this movie, acting was very good. Misuse of the villains, special effects, pace of the movie. So right now, I would give this movie a 7 out of 10. This is a must-see for fans, especially if you just watched Avengers Infinity War to figure out what happens. Where was Ant-Man? What was he doing at this time? This explains it.
I would say, yeah, 7 ants.
7 ants?
7 ants.
Yeah. I take that back. I gave it 7 Antonio Banderas out of 10. Remember he's on the riverbank, he says that.
Spoiler warning right there.
Okay. Alright. Right now we're treading into spoilers. Right here, guys. This is the spoiler warning. This is the part of the movie that we're going to spoil what's happening. We're going to spoil the end credit scenes for you. So remember, you guys, you have been warned.
Basically, the movie, like I said, starts off where the original Ant-Man and Civil War ends. You know,
is
Scott Lang.
2 years later, actually.
2 years later, Scott Lang's on house arrest because of what happened in
the events of the Civil War.
But where was it? It was somewhere in Europe. I
forgot.
I
know it's somewhere in Europe, but since then they got captured, and Hank Pym and Scott Lang had a bad falling out because he went without his permission and he took the suit and he got captured, and he thought he lost the suit too.
He didn't consult Hope, his girlfriend, if you will. So she's really upset with him, and she's not talking to him. Wants kind of like nothing to do with him. And so Hank Pym, because of Scott Lang going into the quantum realm and shrinking so small to kind of, you know, save the day in the previous movie, he kind of thinks about a way to save his wife, because his wife did the same thing years before, and
that was
he explains it at the start of the movie.
Yeah, and that was pretty much the whole main plot of the movie: rescue his wife, get into technology needed to create enough power or the right technology just to go into the quantum realm, pull her out.
Yes,
and then save the day. But there are certain things that happens in this movie that's preventing them from doing that, and we're going to explain that right now. Now, it was very cool. In the laboratory itself, the whole building was able to shrink in the size. You were able to see in the trailer itself, guys. I thought that was very cool. A portable laboratory. You can just walk around.
And that's where Sonny comes in. Dr. Hank Pym and Hope have been contracting through Sonny to get the parts to build this quantum reactor, if you will.
Yes.
And he's kind of like...
you need to cut me on this deal, too, because, you know, laboratory and everything you've been...
So it's worth billions. His character is kind of introduced as a contractor, if you will. So there's not a lot of backstory.
Not too much.
And it really doesn't need one because, you know, he's just a contractor, if you will. So, okay, a person you talk to.
Dealing on the black market, basically.
I need the parts, So... And like he was just saying, he wants more money and he wants to be included, and he also wants to sell the lab. He's got buyers lined up to buy this lab, and he wants to auction it off, if you will. In the process of getting this last final piece, we're introduced to Ghost, or Ava Starr, if you will. And she kind of peers out of a wall, if you will, and kind of...
the way how she made her appearance, I gotta say right now, was actually pretty badass, because there's during this scene was when Sonny decided to double-cross Hope. And that's when Hope had the Wasp uniform on, and that's when Ghost comes in, and they both start fighting. And I like the fight choreographing between Hope and Ghost, because in and out, Hope was shrinking back forth. It was just like
it was really good because she was going small, big, small, big, small, big, and she was using that to her advantage and fighting different dudes and characters. Like in the movie trailer, you see her throw a salt shaker and enlarge it to try to get one of the pieces that she needs for the lab.
So when she appears, you kind of wonder, like, why does she need this piece? So why does she need the technology of the laboratory?
While this is happening, of course, Scott Lang is on house arrest, like we said, and the FBI has to check on him periodically. You know, he's not allowed to leave his house. He's not allowed to have contact with them whatsoever. So it kind of like the FBI at this point kind of has a part in this movie. But the movie kind of slows down here because, you know, he's kind of connecting with his daughter. His daughter's there, you know, they're bonding. But at the same time, you know, he has these dreams and this vision of this lady talking to this little girl. And he calls Hank Pym, even though he's not supposed to contact him. It's part of his probation.
Yeah. And if he does violate his probation, that's 20 years in prison right there.
He goes straight to prison.
And he only has like 3 days left. And he's trying not to blow it.
Yeah, right. All of a sudden,
you see like a little tiny wasp buzz around his head, and he gets hit with like a dart. And then he wakes up in a car with Hope. and then that's when she brings him back to the laboratory, explaining like, after we just turned this reactor on, and then 5 minutes later you gave us a call explaining what happened, because he's basically saying he had a dream that he was her mom, and he used to play hide and seek together. He had an old reminiscent dream about them.
Right, so, and then right away, you see the mom, and it's played by none other than the beautiful Michelle Pfeiffer, who in my opinion is still the greatest Catwoman, aka Selena Kyle. I don't care what any of you guys think about Anne Hathaway. She was terrible. She goes up there with Halle Berry as one of the worst Catwomen ever. She didn't even do nothing in that Dark Knight. Horrible. She didn't even have a whip. At least Michelle Pfeiffer had a whip and claws. So
meow.
Yeah.
Meow.
Yeah. So yeah, they try to basically, they need his help because they think that there's something in his head that will lead them to find Janet. They didn't bring her out. That's basically, like we said, it was the plot.
Ava Starr is tracking them down because she's suffering from a medical condition. She's been affected by the quantum, because this is where
quantum degeneration. Basically, all her atoms are falling apart, and basically, instead of having like weeks or years, she basically has days to live.
Right. It goes back to the point where we're talking about villain or villains, so it makes you wonder who's the actual villain. Is it Sonny? Because we see him at the start of the movie kind of double cross Hope.
He was doing it for the money, basically.
Yeah.
And Ava was doing it to save her own ass.
And then that's where we are introduced to Dr. Bill Foster, because while this is going on, Hank needs to be able to track down his laboratory, and he can't do it because she has it. But he kind of helps him track down the laboratory, even though he doesn't want to talk to him, because like in the previous movie,
they had a bad falling out.
Hank Pym has a lot of alliances, or he's worked with a lot of people in the past, but because of his mind and his genius technology, they kind of just want him or use him for that reason, and he doesn't like that, or he doesn't agree with it, so he fires him or he breaks friendships like he did with Tony Stark in the first one. This one is Lawrence Fishburne.
Yes.
Now, the reason why I use Jonah Hex is because Lawrence Fishburne is one of the very few actors who has played both DC and Marvel. Josh Brolin is one of the other ones. He's played DC, Jonah Hex, and he's played Marvel.
But Lawrence Fishburne wasn't in Jonah Hex. He was in Superman.
He was in Superman, but I used Jonah Hex as a clue to kind of hint to that.
No!
So, Lawrence Fishburne is now part of that category as playing both sides. So, in all reality, you can say they're Switzerland in the rival of who's better, DC or Marvel.
Basically, yes.
So, anyway, they approach him for help. He helps them. At the same time, Ava Starr is, trying to, heal herself. And that's kind of where the correlation between Dr. Bill Foster and the relationship with Ava Starr comes into play.
Yes. Now, Ava Starr, they actually do give a good backstory on her.
Yes, they do.
They talk about
they do really good.
Yeah, her dad used to work with Hank Pym, but Hank Pym fired him because, nobody could question that great Hank Pym.
Exactly.
But what he did, he had a piece of stolen technology. They were trying to get into quantum realm themselves. But there was something wrong. Something was terribly wrong. It was like her dad, her mom, and herself in the laboratory actually exploded. Everybody was killed except for her.
Right, because they didn't have that sophisticated equipment like Hank Pym has now in this high-tech laboratory. So this was kind of more like in a warehouse, if you will.
Yes, and one of the fire rescuers went up to her, tried to pick her up, but his hands literally went right through her.
Yeah.
Now, how can you take care of somebody if you can't physically take care of them or something like that? And that's where Lawrence Fishburne's character comes in, and the CGI on his face when they make him look younger, just like with Michael Douglas, the way he made him look younger, very good.
Almost looked like Lawrence Fishburne from the Tuskegee Airmen. I mean, he was very young.
Yeah, and then he walks up to Ava. He's been basically helping her for over 20 years. Right?
Yeah, because he used to actually work for S.H.I.E.L.D. before Hank Pym and him had a fallout, and Hank Pym pretty much discredited him and pretty much put a black mark on him, if you will.
Yes. So basically, Ava and Dr. Bill Foster have been working with each other. Bill Foster's been trying to help Ava, trying to cure her.
Find a cure for her.
Yes, and he know that the only way to do it is using
quantum realm technology.
Quantum realm technology, because there's things like quantum in the quantum zone itself that can actually cure her. Now, what they want
quantum helium particles,
molecules, whatever how you say. I'm not a scientist, so I can only say so much.
Yeah.
But what they want to do, what she wants to do is Ava wants to absorb all the quantum particles in Janet, so basically killing her in order to save her own hide.
The movie does something really cool, and while Wasp is shooting her thing out to try to shrink or decapitize the enemy, well, not taking their head off, but
but trying to slow them down or stop them or demobilize them or something. Basically
they shrink this one particular car right in front of Stan Lee, and
he says like, "Well, I had a great time in the '60s, but now I'm regretting it."
Yeah,
and I hear people in the audience just laughing.
Yeah, they're just like clamps.
And just to see him in this movie do his quick cameo appearances, just like in all the Marvel movies, it was great. It was great to see Stan Lee in this one. I'm really glad he's still hanging in there after being alive for 94 years.
Yes, and again, sad news about his wife passing away.
That really sucks.
Yeah,
sorry, Stan Lee.
But carrying on, so yeah, we get to the final scene, or if you will, they finally get the lab. You can see it like in the distance, and the FBI is kind of like on his tail, so they kind of throw him a charade, if you will, to kind of buy time so they can get to the lab. They finally make it. Well, actually, Dr. Hank Pym.
He shrinks down into the quantum realm
goes.
Himself.
He tells them to stay behind. I'm going to go get her.
Yes. In the realm, everything is weird. You see these weird like micro creatures in there, like that. And so he actually finds Janet.
Yes.
And of course, I think it's kind of weird because Janet still has makeup on after over 20, 30 years being in there.
Hollywood.
Yeah, Hollywood. But still, he finds her, just to make a quick, make a long story short. He finds her, brings her out.
But while she's coming out, Ghost gets to the laboratory and starts, getting into the chamber, flipping some switches, and all of a sudden you see Janet start twitching out and kind of fading away. And at that point, that's when Hope and Scott Lang come into the laboratory and start battling her.
Yes. And of course, they make their way out. They do get out, and then of course Janet sees Ava kind of almost phasing out, almost about to die. That's when she walks up to her, kind of gives her a little bit of the quantum.
Yeah, so
energy.
Apparently, while she was there, she developed these new powers and the ability to.
Well, she absorbed a lot of that quantum realm
matter,
whatever how you say it.
So yeah, she ended up healing Ava and her condition, which thus making her an ally.
Yes. So basically, that was pretty much the whole movie right there.
Pretty much. And now we're going to go ahead and get into the end credit scenes, if you will.
Well, one of them didn't really matter, but the one that did show, it tied in with the Infinity Wars.
We'll explain that later. Go.
Okay. Okay. Let's move on. Okay. So right now, they're on top of the roof. They're on top of Hank Laboratories. Right now with Janet, Hope, and Scott, and Hank Pym. They're all up there. They have a miniaturized quantum realm technology in the back of a van. So what they're trying to do is shrink down there and get quantum particles to help Ava more, like extend her life, basically.
And also for research purposes, because Hank and Bill can use this for other possibilities of future technologies.
Yes.
Because after all, they are scientists, and that's what scientists do.
Yes. Now, they shrink them down into the quantum realm to get it, but something happens. Right when they're about to bring them out, they're doing a countdown, like 5, 4, 3, and shh. It's static, and Scott's like, "Hey guys, come on, stop playing around. Guys, come on, help me." And then the camera switches to them,
and you just see, you see ash falling down.
So basically, that's the aftermath of when Thanos snapped his fingers.
When Thor rammed Stormblade right into his chest and he snapped his fingers. So actually, a lot of people were like, "Well, what's going to happen to Antman because it's coming up next month? Like, is it all going to coalesce?"
He's trapped in a quantum realm.
Everybody was asking these questions, and sure enough, everybody got what they were asking. It actually does play a correlation in this movie.
Kevin Feige says it himself.
Yeah, exactly.
So Antman does play a huge
Thanos
part.
did take effect in this movie, and it also makes you wonder, like, okay, well, if Scott Lang wasn't in the quantum realm, would have been turned to ash?
That's a very good one.
Because he actually will show you right here. there's screenshots of Ant-Man being in Avengers 4.
Yes. So now, because it's very important, Janet says that there's like quantum vortexes or time vortexes in the quantum realm itself. Now it's kind of obvious. Like, does he enter this? Now, how far in the future does he go? Because in the pictures that we are showing you right now, they show an older Tony Stark, and he's like in a shield jacket.
Right, and then also not to mention, you know, does Scott Lang have those little discs with him in his belt? Because he used that in the first one to kind of get out of the realm, was to enlarge himself, and he did this in Civil War and throughout this movie. So it kind of wonders, how does he get out of this quantum vortex? You know, and also the time traveler, you guys remember too, was Bishop in X-Men. You know, Doctor Strange. So it kind of it has a lot of questions.
It does. It does.
Now there's another end credit scene in this movie, and it's just kind of like showing this ant. He's still playing the drums in the house, but if you look in throughout the house, it's like someone was supposed to be there with the ant. Was it Scott Lang's daughter? Was it his ex-wife and her husband? Was it Lewis? Was it the gang? We don't know,
because it doesn't really show nobody. It just shows the ant playing drumming, and that's how it ends.
That's how exactly how it ends. And this movie, we all have those questions. Well,
it leaves on a very good cliffhanger.
How does he get out? Because it just says at the very, very, very end, Ant-Man and the Wasp will return
with the question mark.
Wrapping up, I just want to say happy 20th movie to Marvel in general.
And doing a good job. Keep up the good work, guys.
This is 10 years that they've been doing these movies. It's the 20th movie that we've got. Next one, again, is Venom.
That's the next one. We're going to let you know.
That will definitely let you know.
So ladies and gentlemen,
for right now, I don't know what kind of movies are coming out this summer. But I do know that, you guys, lately we've been working a lot. I'm sorry that I didn't get to make the last review. Work just has me really tied up at this time.
Yes.
So hopefully, knock on wood, guys, I will make the next review. Not sure what that is. We'll have to check that out. But I do want to check out Mission Impossible 5 with or without this guy.
Skyfall.
So, oh yeah, Mission Impossible 6. Sorry, I lost count there for a second because they're not doing numbers now; they're doing names.
Yes.
So
just cut the numbers up.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna have to wrap this up now, and we'll see you again next time. My ChefD26 movie reviews, and this is my special guest, Irish Booze Hound. We will see you again. Bye.
Peace.